Kept him always outside, and so he was constantly just roaming around on the plantation within their limits, trying to find something to do. So our men just got used to being outside.
So wait a minute. So if a couple of fellas decide to hang out this weekend, it's because they're thinking back on that hut, and
well,
they
don't know they are. That's what the book is about.
It's
talking about our repressed memories and the post-traumatic stress of the things that we're doing that we don't know the root of. We think they're just our personal ideas, but they're not. They're much deeper than that.
Okay, here's another one. Telling a lie is not right, but since we have been lied to, sometimes I have to adjust the truth to get something I want or to keep the peace. Now, what is that about?
Well, you know, we all have tended to justify certain lies since we have been lied to historically and, you know, the educational documents and so forth. But actually it means that since the black man's and the black woman's word during slavery didn't have any value, it didn't matter whether they told the truth or lie. It was always more convenient to lie if it kept the master from beating them or kept them from getting punished or having something taken from them. And so it just got to be that lying was just the way to go because it was a defense mechanism. And we lie now, except now we lie to protect ourselves from the truth instead of a beating.
Okay, now Shahrazad's talking about an issue that really right now has a lot of people kind of taken aback, in a sense, when you look at a movie like Schindler's List that was just out, and the whole nation applauds Schindler's List, but Hollywood's not running the beat down the doors to do a motion picture about the number of blacks that were murdered during the period of time that they were brought over. 100 million is some of the estimates. Joining us right now is conservative radio talk show host, Mr. Armstrong Williams. Thank you very much for being on the show. And in some ways, the message may be a message that you don't really want to listen to the whole message of, but there are some pieces to this message that she puts out eloquently. What do you think about this?
Well, let me just first commend my sister, the fact that she is a marketing genius. Let us first say that. Thank you. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's brilliant. I will give her that. But I will also say that if there's anything in America has become an expert on, it's the fact of slavery and how many minorities in this country see themselves as victims. And we've had enough poverty pimps, racist pimping the black community. And I see Shahrazad as another one of those pimps who found a way to market a book at the expense of people who see themselves as victims. What has empowered and endowed my sister to write this book to tell me that at the end of this book, answers lead to complete recovery? What experience does she have that can tell me that I read this book, and we've been dealing with this for 400 years, and all of a sudden she's going to come up with a book that's going to lead me to complete recovery? I say no way. But I think what African Americans in this country need to do is be very watchful of people like my sister Shahrazad. She has a right to market this book, but you have a choice not to buy it nor believe it. We need to stop focusing on ourselves as victims. We must focus on what is good about what's going on in America and what's going on in our lives. Okay. Let me finish. And the fact of the matter is, I know my history. I know the atrocities and what happened to us during slavery. I know how bad it was. But I want to say to Shahrazad, let me also say this to you. Not all white people are bad. Okay. Wait a minute. And not all black people are bad. You're talking about a human condition here. The fact of the matter is, you only added to the problem. There is nothing in this book that I've read that's going to help anybody.
All right, jump in. Go ahead.
Wait a minute, Toby. All right. Now this, you know, what we're dealing with here is hardcore, pure-blooded slavery. You know, it doesn't matter to our people. We have been so trained to reject any knowledge that comes to us that'll help us. It's a slave reaction to reject it based on him saying that I'm marketing the book. How else can I get the book to you? I don't have enough time to knock on everybody's door and say, here's the new book. And so I do it publicly across the entire nation. But I'm surprised. That's envy and jealousy. That has nothing to do with the topic. You're just deciding to say that I'm a marketing genius instead of a writer.
Let me respond to her. First, you referred to me as Toby. My parents named me Armstrong Williams.
Well,
okay. Secondly, no. Secondly, you had your say. Secondly, I am a man, okay, who can decide and think for myself. And I don't need you or anybody else to tell me what I need to believe and what I need to be about. Because the beauty of freedom is that I have the freedom to choose for myself.
You are not free.
Oh, really?
You are not free.
Oh, really?
No, sir, you are not free, but because that's what the book helps you to determine.
As long as in my mind, and by the things that I do.
Well, that's the trauma you have experienced.
But that's what you do
and that's
to
how
market
you
your book.
express
That's what you believe.
You know?
All right, hold on, but let me get a question in, because you got, yes.
Since the book has been out, have there been statistics that show that people have been cured by reading your book?
Well, the book has only been out 10 days that I'm doing it, premiering it here on Montel's show. However, I do have a list of doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists who are ready to authenticate the things that I'm saying in this book as being true.
Has it freed you?
This time,
Are you free
I was
now?
free when I wrote it, which is why I was able to share the information with y'all.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's bothering me here right now is they're in conflict with each other instead of looking at it as making room for embracing another opinion.
Okay.
And
well, I want to embrace Armstrong. See, we're going
instead of locking heads against each other, I would think, why can't we look at her book as a way to recognize our past?
That's right.
All of us, whites and
Now, will you
blacks.
listen to the white people since you won't listen to me? Now, the issue is...
Now, wait, with this, though, is it in your book you also address the fact that this is part of what's also just genetic makeup of black people, that we have to fight each other?
It's hidden in us. Well, absolutely. And what you see here is the proverbial dissatisfaction between the house slaves and the field slaves. You know, and those who have, you know, like you went to college and everything, but you didn't go to the moon, brother. You've been right here with us, and you going to college does not remove you from being affected by the post-traumatic stress of slavery. You didn't come from no other galaxy. You've been right here with us.
No, let me say this to you. You know, it's fine. Shahrazad knows exactly what she's doing. That's fine. Well, she doesn't define me.
You want to discount what I'm doing based on your emotionalism.
What you say, call me, doesn't matter. What matters is what I answer to and what I know who and what I am. But let me say this also, though. We're not arguing. We're not at each other's throats.
No, we're not.
Not at all. No, not at all.
I love my slaves. We're not arguing.
And I love my sister. But I disagree with my sister because I think what my sister's doing is very dangerous. And I'm here to challenge her today because she has done this with her past 2 books and she's added again.
Every time somebody try to teach y'all something, you know, you all come out and do that.
Who made you the teacher? Who endowed you with the gift of teacher?
Okay, hold on. Let me get one more question. I got to go to break.
Well, my question is, what about the slavery effect from back in Africa when the tribes used to have wars and take the other tribes to slavery? Is that part of what's affecting us as slaves or our mentality of slavery today?
Yes, sir.
And secondly, in your book, do you give practical ways of getting around what you say is a slave influence on us?
Right. Yes, sir. I try to, and I certainly try to also give information to help us identify the different behaviors we have that are linked to our slave history and to identify the people around us so we will know which ones are slaves, you know, so that, you know, we can function in such a way so as to not be contaminated by those slavery ideas and so we can be free. See, the movie Schindler's List does not have the same value the movie Schindler's List to the Jews has a great value. The movie Roots does not have the same value to us. It never did because it represented things we didn't want to see, that we were embarrassed about, and that caused us so much ache and pain. And we're confused about the fact you're right.
Wait, wasn't that one? That was one of the most widely watched television programs in history of TV. And also the book Roots. And I'll tell you now. You can catch me with this one if you want. But I can also remember right before Alice Haley's death, the book's Roots itself in hard copies sold more copies to blacks than any other book in the history of
And nobody charged him with being a marketing genius.
Okay, all right.
That's true that it did, but I'm saying it has not had that same influence on us. We are the only people, Montel, who have a history that we won't even pass on our children most of the time because we think it's such a stigma that it'll keep them from excelling. And as he said, make you feel like a victim. We were victimized, but we can get past it, but we can't get past it until we acknowledge what the victimization was, exactly the incidents that impacted upon us so terribly that have turned us into what we are today, which is a confused group of people.
I got to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to meet a gentleman who has now embraced your beliefs, and he's done that and just thrown away all his friends.
This is going to be a great campaign because it's the truth.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll take a break and we'll be back right after this.
Was high school a
We're talking to Shahrazad Ali, and I got to ask you a couple more questions. You have some general slave profiles. This is self-traumatic or post-traumatic stress disorder inherited from slavery, And this refers to any black person who refers to black people as you guys instead of sister and brother, or brother, you're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Wears brand name clothes so the designer's name is clearly visible. Now, what does that mean?
Well, if you look at most of our black people on television, say the entertainers and entertainers.
Okay.
Not you. You just look good every day.
Thank you very much.
But just about our entertainers and so forth, or our sports people, you know, every time they're on television. In fact, MTV has started blurring it out on the rap videos because all of the black people on there, they got somebody's name on their hat, somebody else on their shirt, somebody on their pants, somebody on their jacket, somebody on their shoes. None of those names represent us, incidentally, but they just like a walking advertisement. And that's an attempt to be accepted into something, to be recognized as being endorsed or being someone because you're wearing some other white person's name instead of your own. You know, Armstrong mentioned, you know, that his name was not Toby, it was Armstrong Williams because his parents named him that. Well, the ancestral history of your parents, just like my parents, was one of slavery, because if not, they wouldn't have given you or me a slave master's name. Now, when I found out my real name, when I found out my people's real name, then I gave them back their name. You can name different names in America, and you expect, when you give an Italian name, you expect maybe an Italian to stand, or a Jewish name. You know, a lot of things have changed, you know, or an Indian name. But when somebody say Armstrong Williams, you don't know who that is. The last person you think it is somebody black if you are visiting in a foreign country. It does not sound like a black name.
Wait a minute, Montel, what matters is I know what it is.
No, that's not all that matters.
I know.
That's not all that matters.
It is.
Hold on. I have two more I got to talk about. Now, wears a cross around the neck or on lapel or hanging one on the wall in your home?
Absolutely, because Christianity and our black preachers are main vanguards of keeping slavery alive in our people and keeping us enslaved. You know, now
Black
they're doing
preachers
that, absolutely. They're doing that by using the same thesis out of the Bible, those same teachings that the slave master used to keep us enslaved. That was not our religion. It was one forced on us. And we don't even remember what our religion is. And they have taught us to laugh at the other religions. And they use Christianity as the line to determine who is civilized and who is savage. It's not ours. And so they keep us enslaved by giving us slavery teachings in the name of God.
Okay, now dyes your hair blonde or dyes your hair blonde or wears blue or green contact lenses. No, okay, but dyes her hair, but stand up here. So this is a slave mentality here. It's a post-traumatic syndrome.
Many of us have, and I'm very sorry, sister, about this.
Oh, don't apologize.
Okay, many of us have been trying to emulate the people who have held us in such terror for over 400 years. And so we want to have blue eyes because we've been taught that they are the most beautiful, or the green eyes. And we want to have the blonde hair because we've been taught that that's the most beautiful. But it is not our natural hair. And if we really loved ourselves, we wouldn't find the need to try to change ourselves into images of white people in order to feel acceptable or beautiful.
Okay.
I have a number of things to say.
Sure, but you got to make them short.
I'll try to be short.
Right.
Ironically, I agree with a lot of what you say, in spite of what you say about me in terms of my wearing blonde hair.
It's not just you, but
it's my choice. No, I'm saying I can address that since I'm one of those people to say that my blonde hair is really not about wanting to be white. That wasn't even a thought in my mind when I did it. It's about theater.
It's about what's in here, sister. You need to take this test and find out that it is about what you think.
My original comment, though, yes, and my original comment was that I agree with some of what you say, the source of which, though, I disagree. Genetically, I don't know that we're genetically disposed. I know that we pass a lot culturally from one generation to the other. From one generation to the other, I believe that we do that. I also disagree with the brother when you want to deny our discussion of slavery, because the sister is correct when she says that the longer we continue to be embarrassed, Jews are not embarrassed by the Holocaust. They perpetuate the story because they know it's a very significant part of their history. As is slavery an important part of who we are, we can change and make a transition, but you cannot go forward without knowing where you came from.
Okay,
that's right.
Hold there.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Armstrong.
That's right.
Let me say this to you. Also, you have a beautiful spirit. I don't deny slavery. I don't try to run away from slavery and ignore slavery. I use slavery. It's the greatest weapon for me to succeed. It's the greatest weapon for me to go forward because I know our history. I know the price that our ancestors paid.
But it's not just about you, brother. It's about all of us. We have to help our people. You have a responsibility as a result of being
She was addressing me, sister. She was addressing me.
You have a responsibility.
May I speak for myself, sister?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm saying to you, I understand our history,
but I don't want to dwell in all that which is negative. I want to build on it.
We're not talking about dwelling there, but we have to deal with it and then grow from there. We're not talking about dwelling there. You haven't overcome slavery.
Wait a minute. I stood you up for a question, but before I even go, I got to introduce the guest. Please welcome Jason to the show, because Jason agrees with Shahrazad that blacks and whites really can't even be friends. Is that right, Jason?
No, that's not correct.
What is the correct premise here?
I agree the fact that slavery is having a drastic effect on black Americans still today.
Yes, it is.
But I also think that we need to stop dealing with the effect that slavery's had on black people and start dealing with so you got to deal with both sides of the coin. What makes white people that wicked for them to put somebody through that ordeal? See, we keep concentrating on the negative effects of slavery on us. Let's look at the wickedness of the people that put us into slavery so we can have a better understanding of the whole ordeal.
Okay, all right, yes, ma'am.
Okay, what I wanted to say is that Ms. Ali, I believe that what she was saying basically was a good thing, that we shouldn't forget that we have been slaves and that things have happened to you, but somewhere along the line it got lost. And then he comes off on the other end, Armstrong does, saying that, oh no, we shouldn't believe it. But the whole thing is, like she said, she may have been field and he may have been house slaves or whatever.
Okay.
But when you come down to it, it's the same way in America today. You have people who still live in projects and they get no respect. They feel they're never going to come out of the projects. They're never going to have anything. And as a whole, when you walk into a store, we still get the same thing.
Okay, but then wait a minute. Is it because of an Armstrong and a Shahrazad Ali that people live in projects today? Isn't it not because people don't get an education?
Certainly it's not because of me. I have been working for 5 years very hard, Montel. You all know that, to try to take information to my people that'll better their condition and enhance their life. But because we've been so psychologically trained to reject any truth or any help that comes through us through our slave history, we automatically reject it. And then everybody fights me. I take the weight for a lot of our nation on these issues. But these are very serious points that we have to deal with. And no, it's not about saying that all of the white people are bad. I'm not going to make that kind of statement and offend all of the black people in America. But it is an issue of that we need to first study ourselves and to determine, you know, like, what is this in us that makes us continually to perhaps love people who are in the image of a slave master. As I said, the sequel to this book for you white people is going to be, are you still a slave master? So that you can examine your ideas and find out if you're still practicing racism, even though you are not standing anywhere on a plantation with a bullwhip.
I got to come back over here for Jason. You have now come to this realization when? When did you understand and follow these teachings?
Well, I haven't yet read her book. This is almost common. This is becoming common sense to some extent.
That's right.
You understand? This is to the point where you can see the effects. There's no black people bringing drugs into America. There's no black people enforcing the negative things on ourselves. But white people are innately wicked.
And we have
but then so Jason, I gotta go to a break. I gotta go to break. But then your premise is that they are so wicked that they have so much power over you that you have no ability whatsoever to make any decisions for yourself.
You didn't let me finish my statement. All right, I gotta take a break. I will let you finish that statement.
I'm gonna help you with that, brother.
Oh, you let him know. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. Okay. Are you still a slave or are you still a slave master? That's the question that's posed by Shahrazad Ali. And Jason, I want to come back to you. The question with you is you said that most white people are wicked. Is that right?
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I said most white people. I said all white people have a wicked nature. Now, let me give you an analogy. For instance, your great-great-grandparents have heart disease, right? Your grandparents have heart disease, and your parents have heart disease. The likelihood of you getting heart disease is greater if you don't take the necessary steps to stop it. White people's ancestors were wicked. That's why they did the things they did. Now, if you don't realize the wickedness of your ancestry, that same wicked nature will rise in you, unquestionably. That's the point I'm making.
All right, yes, ma'am.
First of all, those were my ancestors. Those weren't me. I like black people. My best friends were black people. I don't think you should hold that against us because I was not there.
Well, I don't know.
My 4-year-old baby sister was shot down and killed by a black man. I don't hate every black person. I hate the black man who killed my sister.
Okay.
I'd like to say this, please. I want to give you a reason why I wrote this book, what triggered me into writing it. I was looking at Larry King live, that comes on, and Bill Cosby was on there talking about his new show, You Bet Your Life. You remember the little talk show he was doing a year or so ago. And Bill Cosby was sitting across the table. You know on CNN how they sit there. And Bill Cosby told a joke. But it wasn't really a joke. It was just something funny he said was amusing. And Larry King reached across the table and rubbed Bill Cosby on his head. And it infuriated me. And Bill Cosby just kind of laughed and kind of did all like this. And I said, how many white men been on his show that he got so tickled or he was so amused that he felt the urge to reach over and rub him on the top of his head? I was so shocked by that. I was so angry and furious. I called the station. It was a tape. I couldn't get it. But we need to review that kind of action. And then all of our sports players, they speak of them as being owned by, or they'll say Michael Jordan's owners, so-and-so's owners, or he was bought and traded. It's the same thing that happened in slavery. There's no difference in what's going on now. It's the exact same thing.
All right, but hold on a minute. I got to come back one more time and talk to Jason again. Now, Jason, again, you don't have any white friends at all.
No, well, basically, no. Maybe one or two that through certain experience I've become, been able to trust. But even in those, I still recognize that the capability for that wickedness is there to arise out of them.
Okay, what about Gino?
I haven't talked to him about a year and a half, 2 years now, since we went to college and went different ways. I haven't seen him.
Is he a friend of yours?
Definitely.
He was a friend.
He was a friend. He still is a friend. But I still recognize that, just like I told you about Hart, I still recognize that within his genetic makeup, that capability to be wicked is there.
All right. Well, you know what? Gino hasn't talked to you, and he's wondered why for a long time. We brought Gino to the show to try to ask you why.
You know how I'm
Gino, why don't you come on out? Inherently wicked, though. So, Gino, that's the answer.
Well, I feel that Jason and I have been friends before, Jason went to college and acquired these beliefs. As far as being inherently wicked in genetic makeup, I know my genetics were from Italy. My name is Gino Spigarelli. My parents came from Italy, at least on my father's side. I don't feel that, as far as genetics, I don't have any genetic family that are slave masters, so I don't feel I should carry the label that my grandfather or my great-grandfather may have been a slave owner, and therefore it's in my genetics.
Well, we have to carry it. We don't have that choice. We have to carry it. This is what this book is about. This is about the trauma we experience. We don't have any choice about saying, well, I'm not a slave, so I don't have to deal with that. Yes, we have that in us. We don't have that option to choose that. And like you say, you have the name of your people from Italy, and you're proud of that name, and you should be. Didn't nobody come from Africa named Jason? Wasn't no Armstrongs in Africa. They had some Shahrazads and some Alis, but they didn't have no Jason and no Armstrongs. Now ask me, was that my true and real name? Go ahead, say it. Say it, blow it out. I want to hear you say that.
I tell you what, instead of doing it right in a second, we'll ask it at the top of the next second, because I got to take a break. We'll be back right after
that's my real name.
You want to make a point at the end of that last segment. Go ahead.
Yeah. Listening to this for me, it reminds me that there are certain groups in this country that are recreating what the slave masters really did. Because, if white people were sitting on this podium describing black people as savages or that they were
inherently wicked,
we would be mass riots in this country.
They didn't have to say that. That's what they thought. That's why they treated us like that.
Let me finish. It's just a double standard. The fact of the matter is, we are making decisions based on the pigmentation of somebody else.
Now you want equality for white people before you get it for your own black
self. Can I speak, please? Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I will say what I mean. You don't have to say it for me. The fact is that we look at the pigmentation of a person's skin and we feel that there's a certain way. The one thing that we don't have control over is what we were born as. We may have control over the decisions that we made once we were born that way, but I have nothing to do with the fact that I was born black.
You're the blackest person in this room, and you feel like that. That's amazing to me. You're the most original man in here, and you would take that attitude of loving somebody else more than you love your own black self.
May I finish?
Yes, go ahead.
May I finish? The fact of the matter is, what brings people together are their value system, what they believe in.
You can't get me and you together. How you gonna get the white people and you together and everything?
This is not a white conversation, sister. This is a human conversation.
No, that's what happened.
I think you need to stop blaming society for all the problems that you can't deal with yourself. Oh, yes, you are. You're blaming the white people for the problems that
If you don't know how to deal with yourself, why don't you go talk your issues out with somebody?
Well, the brother already told us about y'all condition. I'm not blaming society. What I'm trying to do is deal with the problems we have personally.
This is your own problem. This isn't a social problem.
I know it, and that's why I'm not trying to include y'all in it.
But you know now see, there's one point behind everything to me. Now I don't necessarily agree with what everything Shahrazad has to say, but when you say it's your own problem, it's not a social problem.
Yes,
that's incorrect. It is a social problem because this is America.
Yes, it is.
And no, but it's a bigger problem. See, stand back up again. I'm not going to talk to you while you sit down. But the issue here is that right now in this country, and she is correct, black people do not want to accept the fact that we were slaves. White people don't want to discuss it. We don't want to discuss the fact that there is racism in America when there is racism in America. The discussion is not the problem. It's the basic points within the discussion that are the problem.
That's what this is
and we need
about.
to have a discussion, without a doubt, I think.
She's trying to blame society for the illnesses and stuff that happened because of it. I don't understand.
That's the direct opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get us as black people to realize that we have some holdover emotions from our ancestral slave history that are continuing to cause us problems today. We're repressing those memories. As I said, I want to be able to discuss slavery with black people without having to mention white people. Just what happened to us. Okay. How can we overcome this and get past it?
But you know what? Wait a second. Hold on a second. But there are 200 years in between, well, really, let's not take that back. It's 135, 140 years in between the emancipation, if you want to call that, of slaves to where we are today. If we just acknowledge, the bottom line is, let's acknowledge what happened in the past and move forward.
Right.
I cannot sit here, though, and agree with you and say that all the ills of the black community are based on some genetic makeup that is making us do the things wrong.
Well, I can't.
When Jason brought up the fact that he said, well, black people don't make drugs, but I have not seen one photo anywhere in America of a white person holding a gun to a black person's head.
No, we have addictive personalities because of slavery. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We have addictive personalities.
I'm going to get a question when I come back. Got to take a break. I'll be back right after this.
Is high school a living hell?
Sometimes they would.
Yes, I do. I want to know, okay, me, myself, I suffer from post-traumatic depression.
Okay.
And I want to know how can you say you're an expert on that book making me better?
Okay.
Well, I can't say that I'm the only expert. I can't say I'm an expert, but I'm not the only expert. There's another thing that's a holdover from slavery I was saying, Montel. It's our great attraction to wearing heavy gold chain jewelry, which represents the chains that we wore in slavery. We don't even know that. So we wear that thinking that it's just some kind of designer outfit. But we are automatically attracted to the things that represent slavery.
But I got one gold chain somebody gave me as a gift, so I must have been like a small slave. I was small with it. I got a little bigger as I...
Isn't that right? Little slave too.
Oh, see how you are, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a comment. I know that, like, she's saying a lot of things, and I know a lot of the white people in the audience are, like, responding and having little comments. I don't think, unless you're a black person, you really can't understand what she's saying.
That's right.
You know, another thing, the brother that's on stage, the three people that's up there, you have to be careful that, I mean, you shouldn't have to put yourself in a position that you should want to say what the white people want you to say. You should be able to know within yourself what you want to say and use this constructively.
Why can't he be saying what he really believes?
How do you know what I believe? Do you know me?
You up here testifying.
How do you know what I believe? I am espousing what I believe, brother.
Well, that's how he knows, because you're exposing it.
Well, my belief system is not colored black and white. It's colored by what I was taught by my parents and how I grew up to become a man in this society, okay? And that's not black and white.
Okay, all right, we can
just black or white.
Question.
How can you not think that?
Yes,
First, I want to say that I got my green eyes from my grandmother, who is Creole, okay? So there's no misconceptions about me wearing contacts. Second of all, I'm of mixed race. And I want to know, if I'm walking down the street and I feel nauseous, is that because I'm suffering from post-traumatic syndrome of being a slave or a slave master?
It could be that part of you. However, what the hell is that?
Go ahead.
The Creoles and the mulattoes, they had a very special position because those women were groomed to be able to have a better part in society because they look so much like white people. And so you probably have a minimum amount, whereas somebody as dark as Armstrong have a whole lot.
But then wait, wait. Sure. Oh, I got to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
You've been in an accident.
Master and Shahrazad Ali, I'm going to let you give one final point, and I'm going to go to you and let you give one. But you got to make it real short because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a real issue. It's something that you should be able to know for yourself. You can't grow until you know, are you still a slave? And it's a very important issue for our future generations. We've got to cut this trauma off with us.
All right, Armstrong.
The greatest power that all of us have is the ability to know within our souls what is right and wrong for us. And no matter what is said here today, you know when you walk away from here, what is right for you about this conversation.
Okay. All right. I guess maybe the bottom line here is that you know, one of the things that we do have the choice is, and that's to make a choice for ourselves, especially nowadays. And when we're looking at issues like this one, whether or not there's truly racism, whether or not there's truly discrimination, whether or not there's truly hate, if any of the premises in that book are based on hate, then I think you can discern it yourself. If it's a matter of trying to come up with something for yourself that will help you get forward, then buy the book, take a look, see what it has to say. You might get to someplace, but I got to tell you something. The only person that can enslave anybody right now is yourself.
Absolutely. That's what it's about. That's absolutely true.
And with that, I got to go. Join us on the next Montel One show.